businesses and time, time schedule to look after their businesses, how it will get impact their investments and everything. So it's good that everybody has turned up. I think more are to come. I welcome you everybody to be here to discuss the Union Budget 2016-17 and their impacts on various aspects of wealth management that can happen as well as the finances. Just to give you a short that last year has been a very eventful year in terms of a lot of things. We had our wishes that RBI will give a rate cut, we had it. We sort of inflation coming down, we had it. And best part was mutual fund data play a very big role. The number of infusion, the amount of infusion from the mutual fund to the tune of 70,000 plus in calendar year 2015 was a historic high. To go ahead with that, I'll just ask Mr. Arun Latta to give his opening remarks. Mr.
Good evening to all. I welcome all of you who have spent their precious time to come and spend their time with us. We are trying to educate or bring more knowledge to all our investors in various asset class across board, whether it is mutual fund, whether it is corporate finance, whether it is new asset class, startup. We try to ensure that we try to give best possible advice to our investors. We feel Indian economy is at a very challenging phase where across world there is a turmoil, everyone is in deep pain, but Indian economy stands at a very remarkable point where we can hope that we are growing and our projections for growth is quite optimistic or quite good compared to the rest of the world. And in the budget which we just heard last day, our government is focusing more on rural economy, more on new investment revenues, which will help us to grow overall, and everyone will grow with the total growth of the economy. And I must put full credit to our finance minister who has ensured that we remain true to our fiscal balance, which we had promised 2 years back, last year also. In spite of many pressures and pulls from various sides, he has kept his commitment and ensured that the commitment given by him is kept. The budget has been designed in a manner which will take our economy to new heights, and I hope today's interaction will give you a more insight and a more knowledge to our growing Indian economy. Thank you once more for coming to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Arunji, for your insight. Brief one although, but I know our panelists today will share much more from their point of view across different asset classes, across different industries. You will obviously see who else are there. In respect to that, I would like to call upon our panelists one by one. First of all, I would like to call Mr. Nilesh Shah. He is a brand by himself, by this kind. Anyone in the industry, or mutual fund industry or a finance industry, no one is there who cannot identify this person. He has 25 years plus experience in the capital markets and mutual fund industry to look upon. Mr. Nilesh Shah. Next, we would like to call Mr. Narendra, Mr. M. Narendra. He is the ex-MD, IOB. Currently, he is the chairman of various associations and Indian Banking Association under various committees. He had a rich experience of over 45 years, and he has seen all the ranks of banking industry, which would be an interesting thing to discuss today, because everybody knows that how banking industry has been bleeding right now. Next, I would like to call Mr. Rohit Tandon. He is partner, direct tax and M&A deal in KPMG. He has over 18 years of experience under various attributes: advisory, deal making, fundraising, taxations. Currently, he looks after the direct tax in KPMG. Next, I would like to call Ms. Astha Gudwania from Birla Mutual Fund. She is an economist. She has been in Birla since many years and does a very instrumental terms of advising the fund managers and guiding the investors' money. Next, I would like to call upon Mr. Anil Joshi. He is partner in Nikon India Ventures Fund, one of the startup fund, one of the very few startup fund that has come upon. He has been president of Mumbai Angels since very long, and currently he since last 1.5 years started his own venture into startup funding. He has already raised 40 crores out of the 100 crores fund that he has brought upon. Rest he will give you a view upon the startup ecosystem. Next, I would like to call upon Mr. Manish Sugandhi. He is the co-founder of one of the startups. We have thought of that why to only bring on board the fund managers, why not to bring on the aspirants whom you actually can talk to, that what they are thinking, how they are thinking of building their business, and so on and so forth. Lastly but not least, Mr. N. Kakani. He is the director of Mr. Simplex Infrastructure Limited. Huge infrastructure company was developed over the last 2 decades. The company has grown significantly over the years, and it has remarkable place in its position. So, Mr. N.K. Kakani. Now I would like to leave Mr. Manoj Ladda to carry on the event and proceedings. Before that, I would like to just ask Mr. Arun Ladda to welcome Mr. Nilesh. Mr. M. Narendran. Mr. Rohit Kannan. Ms. Asta Gulwani. Mr. Manish Sugandhi. Mr. Anil Joshi. And Mr. Kakani. Now I will not take much of a time because all you have been waiting and we are all on time. In fact, before time somehow. And I would like to have this session very interactive, so that all kind of brainstorming can happen because all the stalwarts of industry, whether banking or the mutual fund or infrastructure industries, all startup, everybody is here. So I'd like to throw it to Mr. Manoj to carry on, and then followed by Q&A, where you can have a brainstorming session.
Thanks, Vishal. Good evening to one and all. We welcome our panelists and dignitaries today for taking the time out attending this event in Calcutta. As we saw yesterday, our finance minister gave a very interesting outlook to the budget. The market rallied 600 points, came down and came up, and then negatively closed. But today we can see market is up more than 700 points. In fact, it is up 770 points up. So market has realized a day later many good things about budget. Our finance minister has basically outlined 9 pillars. I will just outline the 9 pillars and then we'll take the discussion forward. Agriculture and farmer welfare with an aim to double farmer income in next 5 years. Number 2, rural sector. Number 3, social sector including healthcare. Number 4, educational skills and job creation to make India a knowledge-based and productive economy. Number 5, infrastructure investment to enhance quality of life. Number 6, financial sector reforms. Number 7, governance reforms and ease of doing businesses. Number 8, prudent management of government finances. And last, reduce compliance burden. All said and done, now we'll throw the discussions to our expert panelists. I would like to start with Nilesh Bhai. Nilesh Bhai has been a veteran in the market, and I would like to take his view on the budget first.
So, the BJP is called Hindu Nationalist Party. Their declared intention is to bring the Ram Rajya. In Ramayana, the Ram Rajya has been defined as Raghupur Geet Sadachali Ai, Pran Jaya Ka Vachan Na Jaya. And the finance minister has honored his word by keeping fiscal discipline at 3.5%. So maybe critics can say that BJP is trying to bring Ram Rajya like this. It's a Hindu nationalist, fundamentalist party. But let what the critics say. I think by ensuring that India delivers on 3.5% fiscal deficit to GDP ratio, we have built a lot of credibility for ourselves. First and foremost, it allows RBI to cut interest rates. When you cut interest rates by 1%, corporate India benefits like 7% earnings growth. Today, on wholesale price basis, real interest rates are upwards of 10%. On a consumer price basis, if I take it to the borrowing cost of the borrowers, it's probably still 7-8%. World is at negative interest rate. We need to lower interest rates. This budget definitely allows RBI room to cut interest rates.
But Nilesh, everyone wants to know market was in bad shape. Almost people are talking, bear market aa gaya, what to do. So do you believe this budget has taken out of that bear shape?
On a domestic factor basis, I think market has bottomed out. Typically, markets bottom out happens on double bottom basis, and yesterday we did see during the budget session double bottom being made. Today, we are seeing short covering happening. The 770 point is not a reflection of just the bulls, it's also bear covering. So, if you assume that bears have surrendered even for the short term, technically that's a new bear market.
Okay. So that's a good news for
Does
investors.
the roadmap, does the bottom for the market? Global factors are beyond us. Today, whole of Russia is available for less than half the market cap of Alphabet. 60% market cap of Alphabet. So one American company is equivalent to whole of Russia. Prices can become irrational. Value doesn't climb.
Now coming to our next very important topic, the banking. Everyone wants to hear what is banking. It's better than we have the best person here, Mr. Narendra. But what is your view on the budget?
Before the budget itself, there have been quite a lot of expectations. So the expectations was to revive the demand, particularly from the rural sector. Focus on rural development, focus on social infrastructure, focus on agriculture in the light of the 2 years of drought. And it is from there it gets impetus to the manufacturing. So other side, as rightly pointed out by Nilesh, that there have been a lot of debate whether, because even the earlier, of course in economic survey it was moderated, that there was expectation why not you enhance the your fiscal deficit and beat the fiscal deficit, particularly to get more public sector investment on the capex and to revive the demand and get encourage the private investment. So on the background of that, as rightly said, keeping the fiscal deficit 3.5%, at the same time all those expectations getting fulfilled by way of government enhanced expenditure on the rural development, agriculture and social sector, health, education, along with massive investment in road and highways and railways, as well as ports and airports, some of the airports. I think that gives us good opportunity for the bankers, because every item of either on the raising resources or on the spending, bank gets an opportunity.
So what do you feel? when we see the banks, they have been very conservative in lending to the good companies also. Maybe because the sector is in bad shape, or maybe the governance, maybe the compliances. So do you believe this 25,000 crore input by the government, or do you believe next 1 year, at least 1 year, whether banks will lend to the manufacturing sector?
Now, see, one important aspect of the bank is they should be fully capitalized. They should be compliant with the Basel III, and they must conserve the capital so as to ensure that by the deadline, their capital will be above the mark. And India particularly is little buffer, not only the minimum requirement buffer. So in that respect, looking at what the economy went through, and with the background of the 9% growth rate coming to as low as 5%, and now we are coming back to 7% plus. So on that background, these NPAs are the past legacy where we have to necessarily face it. So this growth of the NPA has been now likely to come down. Another 1 or 2 quarters after that, the growth of NPA will be coming down. And it's, in fact, in the public sector bank, the growth has come down, other than the special some additional account which has to be seen in the light of the fact that banks should not get surprised. So they should create reserves. So the rate of growth of, whereas the private sector, even though their NPA level this quarter, their growth of NPA has been higher. So in view of that, that has been covered. And parallelly now that, as rightly said, the treasury gives a fairly good amount of volatility and opportunity to enhance the profitability of the banks with the rate of interest. Now, as such earlier, the 10-year yield has not responded to the reduction by the interest rate by the Reserve Bank. It has been showing very high. In fact, prior to the budget, it was very high. And yesterday, today, it has likely has come down. And if it comes to 7.40 level, which is likely, so then naturally you get. So with the background of the profit generated on the treasury, profit generated out of the recovery process with the passage of the bankruptcy code and other things, the bank's appetite for good viable projects will start. But the other side, since the capacity utilization itself will grow, the working capital cycle also has been a little longer. And whereas the flow of funds, there has not been much activity in the manufacturing and the corporate sector. So the real demand for credit has not come, other than the personal segment and the agriculture sector. So while these budget will give boost to the rural economy, manufacturing sector and the infrastructure sector, I am sure banks will, because credit and earning interest is a basic necessity for us to future provide and improve our profitability. So one side you cannot be only take the NPA, and other side you don't earn at all. Then where we will provide? And so as far as the provision coverage also we have improved. I think there will be definitely. So we are now. I think banks will start where there is a good viable project. Let it come. And with this EPC model of roads, as well as the certain PPP, public-private partnership, certain resolution mechanism, various things. Now it is in a good environment, infrastructure projects also will take up.
Nilesh, coming back to you, markets are worried. Banking NPAs, you know very well what market talks are. So, what's your view as a banker? Mr. Narendra has talked about it. But do you think it can be tackled? Do you think it can be managed?
So the most pessimistic analyst today believes that Indian banking system is saddled with about $75 billion of NPAs. That is the reasonably pessimistic opinion.
So that is 7,50,000 crore.
75 billion is multiplied by 70 rupees, they have to touch 100.
Acha, okay.
Now, let me put this $75 billion in context. Our annual saving of oil import bill is roughly equivalent to $75 billion. So if we save money from import of oil, which is directed to banking sector, all the NPAs accumulated over the past so many years can be wiped off in just 1 year. Now, obviously, you will say we can't transfer all the import savings over there. So let's go to another segment which all of us can contribute. if we stop importing Chinese goods beyond what we are exporting to China, so Mother Durga should be made in Bengal, not made in China, and we stop importing gold just for 1 year, our trade deficit with China is $50 billion. Our gold import on a net basis after exporting jewelry is about 22 billion. Put together, that's good enough to cover all your NPAs in the banking system. Now you can say that, but all these people, will we ever stop consuming Chinese goods and gold? The answer is no. So let's move to third. Last year we imported $15 billion of gold. Depending upon those reports you pick up, India is between third largest gold reserve in the world to fifth largest gold reserve in the world. So if we just dig the gold which is there in our ground for the next 5 years, sufficient enough so that we don't have to import gold from Indonesia, Australia, and South Africa, and Mozambique, this banking sector NPAs can be cleaned up. Now you will say that, but Coal India, we will not be able to dig coal out of our ground. We haven't done it in the past. Why will we do it in the future? It's quite likely.
Absolutely.
So Minister has also told we are solidly behind the banks. And what I provided is that currently, but if there is any need, we will provide. And as you rightly said, with all this, plus certain like disinvestment, then also from the telecom receipts, if they are able to have larger realization, definitely they will provide additional capital. Because that is absolutely necessary, banking system stronger. So then the naturally, and another thing is government is borrowing lesser. So there is a space for private borrowing. So the private viable infrastructure projects and other projects will be now getting provision from the bank lending.
So are we seeing a bottom out in the banking overall?
Availability of capital does not necessarily mean that bank stocks transfers are delivering return. My feeling is that unless you compare the structure of banking system, today you are assuming that all the PSU bank chairmen are coming from Mother Teresa school. They are willing to work for charity. We don't have more models of Mr. Narendra. The SBI chairman's salary is lower than the salary of most of the people of this area. She does far more work than what we do. If you expect them to be Mother Teresa, I think we have stopped producing it. So you have to change the structure of PSU banking system where, and it's not that PSU bank don't pay. The average salary in PSU bank is more than average salary in private sector bank. It's just that they pay more at the bottom and less at the top. And private sector bank is the reverse. They pay less at the bottom and more at the top. I think if they change that structure, then yes, PSU bank is good enough to be to buy. Otherwise, they will be like MTN and stop. Every year, MTN gives you 20% return opportunity. But if you hold MTN for 20 years, it loses your principal by I agree with you.
But another thing is, banks' intrinsic value should be seen. Those of the long-term investors, banks have been giving a hefty dividend. Whenever they made good profit, they are given dividend. And today, maybe another 1 year until Basel III implementation, there may be a pressure on dividend and they may not give. But once you look at a little longer, at the current value, with the dividend expectation afterwards, it is a worth investment. And as you rightly said, those things apart, the level playing field. But overall, the banks had a very difficult period in the past also, then they have come back. So that is, I would, because this discounting public sector bank so much bad on a quarterly expectation is little unfair as against the little long-term outlook.
Yeah, Rohit, what is your view on this?
Why are we seeing this sudden NPA coming up? Because these are all accumulation of the past. One thing which is driving all this is a IFRS implementation which is coming with effect from next year. So suddenly, all the accounting which we have been doing under the Indian GAAP, where everything is recognized on cost basis, will have to be disclosed on the fair market value. Because of that, all this trigger has started, and now they only have one quarter, probably March quarter available to clean up the historical effect.
Very important. So So as a consumer, Mr. Kakani, what do you feel the view on the banks and going forward on the infrastructure side? You are a large listed company. What do you believe the banking sector is looking at the infrastructure sector? Because what we hear in the news, a lot of orders are there for the companies, but not much of the capital is availability. What is your view on that?
I think there are some more enablers put in this budget, apart from the monetary infusion in infrastructure sector and rural sector. There is dispute resolution mechanism. Then there is a possibility of renegotiation of some of the PPP contracts which are stuck. Then third thing is credit rating will be done on a different basis. It should be done on a different basis because these are long-term projects, public utility projects. Then because of the capitalization of the banks and also because of this financial prudence which has reduced the yield and the banks SLR portfolio also valuation goes up. So that will enable better appetite among banks and also even the developers have become wiser because it is not like that when some developers would bid at a grant and other developers would bid at a premium for the same project. So those days are gone. When there were 25-30 bidders for a single project, now there are 5-6 bidders.
So
Sanity will prevail.
So you believe the business for infrastructure companies and the capital which is required in the times to come is going to be a no problem for the
Should
companies?
not be a problem because now there will be better due diligence by the developers as well as by the bankers.
Coming to, yeah.
Another important thing must have heard from the Reserve Bank as well as the government now that for all such infrastructure projects or long-term projects and all long period projects, there should be also a good development of bond market. Bank cannot be the only source to finance such large projects. So there has to be a combination of capital and the debt raising from the market as well as banks. Banks primarily were giving working capital. Later they went into a term loan and that will not long term. As you rightly said, in the new environment, and this budget also has given quite a lot of, I think, opportunity for they are going to develop the bond market. And the other side, if the capital market also gets active with the primary issues, I think it will be definitely. And the current projects coming, they are all in an integrated manner without any problems in terms of the regulation or in terms of the, as you rightly said, the appetite of the bidder giving, all that would have been solved. So that will be taken up.
Now let us hear the economist view. Coming to Asta now. I think there is a huge, credit given to our finance minister, which the sticking to the fiscal deficit numbers. So what's your view now?
I think there were two things that every market participant was looking at finance minister when he rose to present the budget yesterday. The first one was, is there a security of credibility, or you err on the side of caution and kickstart the economic growth? By choosing the former, I think, and actually by choosing the former and giving this caveat that a new FRB and review committee will be established, which is going to look at the medium-term framework of fiscal deficit and see that in due course of time we do not tie ourselves to just one number, but we give you a range of fiscal deficit number given the way in which the economy evolves has been a pathbreaker. So you cannot expect the fiscal deficit of a country which has a nominal GDP growth rate of 8.6% to be 3.9% and of 11% to be 3.5%. That basically asks you to reduce the size of the government expenditure massively, that too at a point in the cycle where the growth is much lower than its potential. So the 3.5% number has been adequately secured at this point in time because of the oil bounty that Mr. Shah just spoke of. And because we have those savings from our net oil importment, and that has made place to adjust for and accommodate for the 7th Pay Commission and OROP, and at the same time not cut back on capital expenditure in any meaningful manner. That was the tightrope that the government had to work on.
So now what is the view on the bond market next year?
Finally, the most awaited rally of the year should probably continue and not stop with the 12 basis points that we saw yesterday and some today. The answer to where bonds would be basically asks me the question where the interest rates are headed. And as an economist, I will go down into the detail of both growth and inflation dynamics before I could tell you what we think of interest rates. Now, currently, RBI thinks that at this point of time in the economic cycle, a real rate of 1.5 to 2% on 1-year T-bill is adequate. Now, the real rate at this point of time in the economic cycle is what needs to be underscored. When we have a growth estimate of 7.5% on GDP at market prices for FY17, that is actually marginally lower than 7.6% for FY16, and inflation which is in the range of 4.5 to 5%. You should be 650, and because the spread between T-bill and repo is on an average of 25 basis points, so 75 basis points of further moderation could actually come about. At the same time, what could get and should in due course of time see some sort of reassessment is this entire real rate interval, because it is ultimately a function of where the growth and inflation nexus is. If growth does not revive in a meaningful manner because of the stress that the banking sector is in right now, and the consumption boost that we are expecting from the 7th pay commission or from a normal monsoon does not bring about the kind of growth that market participants are designed, then this entire real rate could get some sort of reassessment. And that is why further room for more monetary easing could actually get created. So hopefully good day.
Coming to Nilesh, yesterday there was a huge expectation. You'll see interest rate cut in 48 hours, 24 hours, 72 hours. So what's your view now? Whether it is coming too soon or what's your view now?
So we had a doctor who came and found that our patient has cholesterol and blood pressure. So he put us on a diet regime and gym regime. Now we were patient's relative. We were also watching cholesterol and blood pressure numbers. When we saw WPI becoming negative for 14 months, we thought blood pressure was normal हो गया. We saw CPI coming down by half. हमें लगा कि cholesterol भी normal हो गया. So we assumed, because we were not medical professionals, that doctors are diet खत्म करेंगे, gym खत्म करेंगे, to go back to eating pizza and pav bhaji. But doctors are थोड़े अलग दिमाग के हैं. Is forcing us to still do the gymming and still do the exercise. Now, हमें लगता है patient की जान पे बच जाएगी. So he will take his time to cut the diet regime, cut the gym regime. But now, probably time is now or never. In last year's monetary policy statement, Dr. Rajan did mention about fiscal giving him space to cut interest rates further. Our hope is that he will reciprocate it pretty soon. My guess is that as I speak, probably there could be a rate cut.
Oh, good.
If not today, tomorrow. The rate cut should happen faster than expected. The doctor knows.
It's a good time for the,
The only thing is we are forgetting the fate of savers. This is one side, madam has told that we have rate of return and all. But in India, those savers are used to a better return. So even though now the public government savings also, they recently brought down the rate in line with the GSEC. And since the GSEC has not shown much growth, the bank has to provide better cushion on deposit. So unless our deposit growth also picks up, the credit pickup cannot take place. So you have to make a correct balance between, because borrowers are always expected to better rate. But from the depositors, there has been definitely a demand that you cannot go solely low. So we have to necessarily balance.
Nilesh,
Yeah.
just to come, sorry.
But after we actually move to the marginal cost of lending rate, I think banks would be forced to use in the lack of a better word, to make sure that the deposit profile of the banks is actually adjusted to make sure that transmission happens. So to that extent, adjusting the entire deposit book of the bank in line with FCLR to make that transmission is going to be the next
That is a challenge that they have to.
Yeah, coming back to you, Nilesh, everyone is eager to know. Last year we had a 125 basis point cut, and still our returns are in a negative perspective. So going forward, 12 months down the line,
So, as Asta mentioned, we are looking at, the market is looking at about 50 basis point rate cut. You can enter bill fund now tomorrow, may not today. So, let's say 10-year rate is 762. Could it go to 7.25 because of this 50 basis point rate cut? Quite likely. 40 basis point downward move will go roughly about 2.8% return. Looking for income will be 7.5. Minus expenses, you should be able to hit higher single digit or lower double digit return on a 12-month basis. That should be possible. My guess is that interest rates will continue to go further down. Today, if we see Government of India, I haven't calculated this year's number, but last year government spent 49% of tax revenue on payment of interest. The government is getting tied up on committed expenditure. If we don't bring down interest rates, and just in 2007, 2008, we were only paying 38% of tax revenue as interest. In 7 years, we have moved to 49%. If we take it a little more, then in Pathankot there is that will happen in a different way. From there, they just have to phone call our soldiers because they would not have paid salaries or pension. So we need government which is more flexible in terms of expenditure. You can't be spending 49% in interest, you can't be then coming into salaries, pensions, subsidies, and then say, actually, I don't have any money to do anything else. You need lower interest rates for this country to survive.
So let's take a different view from Rohit. Rohit comes from KPMG and Rohit advises a lot of large MNCs, multinational companies who want to invest in India and who would like to invest in India. So what's your take, Rohit? You got this budget and BJP government in last 2.5-3 years they spent. So what's your call on that? How the international companies, manufacturing companies, all sorts of companies which are looking at India, are interested, global meltdown, like the sweet spots. What's your call there?
Let's just take a step back. I would like to make a statement. When we fall sick, when we have cough, we say go to a doctor, you'll become okay in 1 week's time. Otherwise, you will get okay in 7 days. Our economy is such, it's bound to grow. Because our domestic consumption, our domestic pattern is such, it will grow. It may grow at 7%, 8% or 6%. Now, if we look at the budget, what do we expect from it? It basically, we try to assess what's the mood of the government. Are they forward-looking? Where they want to focus on? Are they, it's more inviting in terms of getting more investments from abroad or getting investment domestically? So if you look at it from that perspective, it's pretty much, I will say, Finance Minister has tried it level best to give the impetus to the foreign companies. And I started with saying that if you look at it, what is the first fear in the minds of foreign companies? Is to have a stable tax regime. And it has been struggling after the Vodafone case. So at least it has tried to bring some kind of a settlement to that by making an open statement in the budget that we don't intend to bring more retroactive amendments. Second, provide for alternate dispute mechanism.
So do you believe this Vodafone, Care India and so many large issues could be settled in due course of time?
See, it has to get settled. Now the thing is, they have tried to make that alternate dispute mechanism come into picture by saying, just pay the tax amount, we will forgo all the penalty and interest, number one. Second, they have formed a committee which will be headed by a revenue secretary and will also have a industry expert also being part of it to ensure that there are no further such retroactive things coming out without the knowledge and the vetting of the industry person also. So it should not be something coming out of blue and causing a panic in the market. Thirdly, I would say that if you look at it, a lot of open issues which were troubling the foreign company, it has tried to bring them close to that. MAT, for example. There was certain, again a year back, we had a certain flurry in the market that MAT is applicable to foreign companies.
Right.
But the wordings are such which can be interpreted in any way. At least they have brought the settlement to that. For example, crude oil, which was being, crude oil companies which was just storing crude oil in India. They were being taxed. What the notices was.
So what's your view, from an FDI perspective? Do you believe this year also is going to be a big number for India?
I definitely feel, that's why I said, irrespective of what happens in the budget, they will continue to see the investment coming into the country. Now the quantum may differ, right? If you make it more available, then probably the quantum flow or the fund flow will increase. And that's what he has tried to do in the budget, I would say. By bringing clarity in the tax regime, by giving clarity in terms of the taxation of the offshore funds, the foreign companies, then forming the International Financial Services Commission or centers to make a financial hub in the country. But I think those are some of those forward things. I would rather say a forward step. And we should see some impetus coming in the...
Nilesh, I wanted your view on this. You interact with a lot of pension funds, FIIs, and we've been seeing continuous selling by them in the stock market. So, and we don't see any of this, this fight coming in. So what's your call going forward? Whether the FIIs are going to be a little better to India?
So when we talk about FII, it's no longer the luxury of 1990 where you speak to Capital, Templeton, Morgan, and your FII coverage was over. Now it starts from Japan, Australia, Southeast Asia, Singapore, Hong Kong, South Africa, Middle East, continental Europe, China, UK, Latin America, US, Canada. So the geographical range is too diversified. Within that you have pension funds, sovereign funds, bond money funds, hedge fund, momentum funds, global emerging market funds, India dedicated funds, exchange traded funds, global exchange traded funds. So the width is also quite diversified. Now within this, to figure out which element we are referring to in terms of flows is a bit difficult. From June 2015 till today, we have probably paid $9 billion out to FII. Now if I take one benchmark, global emerging market funds have seen about $100 billion of reduction in last 9 months. India's allocation ranges on an average between 10 to 14% in global emerging market funds. So effectively for this $150 billion reduction, if people have withdrawn similar quantum from India, we should have paid between $14 to $25 billion to FII. But we have only paid $9 billion.
So you believe the rest will go or rest will not go?
No, this has already happened.
Okay.
So effectively what has happened that we have faced 25 billion of reduction or 20 billion of reduction or $14 billion of reduction. And correspondingly some money has come.
Okay.
The money which has come in India dedicated funds. Money which has come in India dedicated exchange traded funds. We manage a mid-cap fund in Japan which has grown by $600 million in last 1 year. So India dedicated funds, India dedicated ETFs are receiving flows. Global emerging market funds are seeing reductions. Why is global emerging market funds seeing reductions? Because today if you are an American, European or a Japanese investors invested into those funds, on a 3-year basis, developed market is up 20%. Emerging market is down 40%. So you are saying that मैं 60% नीचे गिर गया compared to what I could have done. And then you are seeing headlines: Russia is going down, China is going down, Brazil going down, Zika virus hitting Brazil, India Pathankot terrorist attack. With 60% underperformance, how many of you will remain invested in the market?
Asta, what's your view now, from a rating agency perspective? Do you see this year we'll see something positive on the Indian rating agency?
So I was quite surprised with the lack of enthusiasm that rating agencies showed to yesterday's budget. One of the key parameters that we understand go by rating a country is how credible their fiscal bank is. By adhering to the 3.5% of GDP as fiscal deficit, the government has clearly shown its intent to stay committed to fiscal discipline. Despite that, there is some sort of question mark on the quality and the achievability of this number, which we think is very likely to be achieved. There could be some redistribution away from spectrum receipts, which would not come about in 99,000 crores, but then the excise tax revenues look to be underestimated given the current rate of duty on petrol and diesel and the volume growth that we are seeing in petrol and diesel. So within the revenue estimates, there could be some movement away from non-tax revenue sources and more in tax revenue sources. And divestment proceeds in the last 2 years have been overestimated. This year, I mean, FY16 we wanted to achieve 69,000 crores. The RE is only 25,000 crores. But at 36,000 crores for next year, the number looks pretty achievable. So once this understanding and this conviction that not only is this budget on paper, but this budget can be achieved and is doable, starts to show in with the monthly fiscal deficit run rate that we'll see in FY17, that outlook which questions the achievability of the number could also become positive, and therefore we may see some sort of positive commentary coming in.
That's a good thing.
Which can I jump?
Yeah, please.
See, with rating agencies, they prefer default.
Okay.
So the world's largest ever credit default has been done by a country called United States of America. Till 1972, every single dollar which was issued by America was convertible into gold. There was a gold standard. One fine day, Richard Nixon would wake up and say that, bullshit, this gold standard is over. And from that day, in US dollar, they print, in God we trust. Essentially, it says, with that default, they became AAA. Greece is a country which has defaulted 20 times in the last 400 years. And for bulk of that history of rating, which might be 80 years old, they have remained consistently higher than us. We are the only country whose history goes back to Harappa, Mohenjo-daro days. And if you don't want to include Pakistan, then it goes to local days. So from that day, we have never defaulted to any foreigner.
But Nilesh, whatever said and done at the end of the day, the global markets, the global funds, they'll all look at. You don't.
CalPERS, which is world's largest pension fund, made an exception for India to invest into India. Their board did not allow them to invest in below investment grade or below investment grade countries. India was BBB minus at that point of time. CalPERS made an exception.
No, so the point was
the borrowing cost of all Indian companies. It is substantially lower than the rate at which our comparable countries are borrowing.
So my point is here, if we go up, then the numbers of the flow in the country will be humongous.
See, my limited point is that we have to negotiate better with the rating agencies. My credit to GDP ratio is about 75%. My government debt to GDP ratio is about 65% as per IMF, about 50% as per us. My GDP does not include parallel economy. And in Calcutta, everyone knows what is parallel economy.
Yes,
With all those things, I mean, we are not able to negotiate with rating agencies for giving us a better rating. Which country in the world has 5,000 years of track record of servicing its interest and debt? In $450 billion of FX debt, I have probably $150, $170 billion from NRIs, which are not going to take that money out of this country. So it is all about presenting ourselves. And this is where we lose a lot.
Our Prime Minister has done a wonderful job,
But he's left to meet the rating agencies.
Okay. So the next step has to be on rating agencies. So that
Evolving process. Definitely, as I rightly said, with the government showing its commitment and parallelly Reserve Bank responding and the market and all other activities. So the rating agency also will change. And before the budget, very clearly mentioned that only on the fiscal deficit. As he rightly said, the quality means only thing in this budget, quite a lot of expenditure has gone for revenue expenditure. And the capex growth which was in the last year, that in the growth has been very marginal.
4% capital expenditure growth, but
The market, that is so because with the fiscal deficit to be held and with the limited resources, they had no other option but to do. But the revenue expenditure itself will generate demand and that may be the assumption.
because the 7th Pay Commission itself
That has actually.
so 65 to 68,000 crores in total planned revenue expenditure is going into 7th Pay Commission award, and another 14 that kept aside, that is one of the reasons why the YOY growth rate of capital expenditure and also the capital expenditure as a percentage of GDP hasn't grown
So
substantially.
the tax compliance and the tax base has to increase. On the indirect, particularly service tax, now the government has found out quite a lot of opportunity to make it. Whereas the direct tax, that has not. So once you enhance your base as well as source, then naturally the rating agencies also will see the sustainability of the fiscal deficit.
So Rohit, what's your talk, take on the tax?
I would like to ask today, is the, as the MD predicted, that double bottom has already happened for the market.
Right.
And he's already saying the rating agencies.
So markets are-
So market is likely to be, he has some insight into that's what I like.
Rohit, markets are coming a little later. I was
Rating agency, let me put it in lighter way.
Right.
We have a correct problem in our DNA. We have a fundamentally wrong DNA in Indians. So we are always told that we won the war with Pakistan in 1965. Indian military went up to Lahore. In 1971 also we repeated. And yet if we realize, half of our Kashmir is Pakistan. So अगर आप जीते वॉर तो आपके सोल्जर्स और आपकी जमीन उनके पास क्यों है? So there is something fundamentally wrong with us. And I'll give you an example of what happened with one rating agency. And this is published information, so you'll be able to figure out what I'm talking about. Indian government, like any other government, shares confidential information with rating agency. One of the rating agencies ended up sharing that information with the United States government. We had a solid case in our hand. We could have negotiated with that rating agency either in terms of billions of dollars of damage. But like we let go Indian Carbide, we let go this rating agency also. Or we could have forced that rating agency to upgrade our rating substantially. What did we do with that Bhukamp ka Ikka?
So you believe this is going to be interesting times. I think 2 years, some Hukum ka Ikka will come and try to make all these things.
In the past, we have always used Bhukamp ka Ikka as approved. I hope now the players have changed. Maturity has come to negotiate better with rating agencies. It's not that we are a great country. We are in the making a great country. But if Greece can have a rating better than us, if Argentina can have a rating better than us, then certainly we deserve a better rating for 5,000 years of track record.
Let's move to a new segment, which is our, Startup India, and our beloved Prime Minister has put a lot of emphasis on Startup India. We have an expert here with us, Mr. Anil Joshi, who has an understanding of startup businesses, startup investment, and now startup fund also. What's your take, Anil, on the budget, expectations, on the startup businesses?
Thanks, Manoj. Good evening, all. Yesterday, I was actually doing some analysis. And I came across very interesting things, I'll say why. But somebody actually timed Finance Minister, when did he spoke first startup? And it took him 45 minutes to speak about startup. I was wondering whether Manoj will veteran. But I should compliment that he matched it. So, Manoj, coming to your point, I think when Finance Minister rose yesterday to speak about the budget, I think heart of every startup guy actually also started. And I think I can say it's my own mistakes. More so because I think post-independence, first time a Finance Minister was going to speak about something startup which we all were trying to do. More so because Prime Minister on 16th January, which we also call it a startup day, rose a lot of expectation among community, not only about entrepreneurs or people industry, but also I think we can dissect this budget, whether what's there, what's not there, but I'll make it simpler from my eyes, how I look at it, and maybe Manish can share more about it. I think one is, what is tangible or direct, and what is there indirectly, for startup community. I think a lot has been said. In fact, Prime Minister made very clear, what is stored there for exemptions on tax on profit for 3 years in a block of 5 years, or you get a capital gain tax if you invest in startup. For investors also, I think you get capital exemption if you invest in notified funds. I think we all can read about it and everything is available.
So what was that, Anil? The notified fund which has come yesterday in the...
So I think it's more to do investment in saving registered fund.
So just to, if someone, as an individual, if someone wants to invest in a fund, that gives him some incentive? You can just
So
comment on
the
that.
thing is that, let's say today if you make a capital gain, I think you need to reinvest that amount to get an exemption, right? In a period of 6 months or 1 year or whatever. But now another category has been brought in, wherein investor invest that gain in a notified fund, which is AIF or alternative, basically talking startup. Then they get exemption on that, right? So I think it's more to bring in domestic money in this ecosystem. To share some statistics, I think today numbers said that almost $20 billion have been invested in India. And they're not talking about startup loans, but if you look at the entire private equity money which has gone in India last year, 85% of the money has come, from foreign investors. Only 15% has come, in ecosystem from Indian investors. Whereas we know the potential is much, much higher, right? Like a lot of statistics has been shared by analysts. And we all know that India has much larger potential. Like in US, the quantum of investment by VC, I'm not talking about private equity, is equivalent to the quantum of investment made by early stage investors. And its value is upward of $20 billion. Whereas in India, I think the early stage investment from domestic investors is a fraction of what VC invest in India. So coming back to Manoj, your point, I think the tangible shared and I think everyone must have read it. But post finance minister speech, you also highlighted 9 pillars. I think it was 10th pillar, right? I think the 10th pillar which was laid down by Prime Minister on the extended startup pillar. You dissect each of the vertical or each of the pillar, and the disruption which will come through startups, right? I can give you several examples, but just to talk about banking, we spoke a lot here. And today we are talking about unified, payment transactions, where I can transact third bank to second bank, so my first bank would have no relationship with the old bank. And this kind of disruption is being worked out by startups, where I did not have to go even on a web platform, or even I have to go on mobile platform, but I can just do it unifiedly, through one bank to second bank to third bank. And this will happen through startups, right? So we are talking about banking, we are talking about Aadhaar, I think was one of the hottest talk yesterday. And any disruption will come through startups. So if you look at direct tangible, I think a lot of money will come in. I think investors are now convinced about startup story of India. But the kind of disruption that would happening, I think more and more startups will come. And if we want to write the story about what finance minister spoke about what is going to happen in infrastructure, right? It's not easy to build so many kilometers of roads just by having many hands, many machinery, unless until you leverage technology, unless until you bring in efficiency in the system. I think we cannot achieve what we want to achieve. So there has been tangible, but if I look at budget from intangible perspective, I think it could be one of the best budget from startup. So that's my view.
So we have a very one of the youngest guy on the stage, Manish. Manish comes, he has a startup business, and interesting is IIT graduate from Guwahati. But more important, he comes from a background where his family business has been there for the last 7 generations, and they have been one of the large perfume manufacturers and exporters. And he decided to leave his business and start a startup. And Manish, we all curious to know, why a good business, your father business, and started a startup.
Okay,
I'd like to start off by saying good evening to all of you. Extremely happy to be here on such a esteemed panel. Coming to the point that I've been born and brought up in an environment wherein business and family business was really important. Then there was a certain leaning towards the technology sector because that is where the real disruption in the Indian ecosystem can really be brought about. I have had little experience after working the family business into the corporate sector before I finally moved on to founding my venture Grab on Rent, where you're working on product rental space. One of the interesting reasons why the entire startup ecosystem itself becomes a lucrative space for me is that the growth opportunity in it is immense, especially with the way the entire build-up has happened over the last 1 year, starting from the way the Digital India campaign was launched way back in June, to the startup campaign that was launched by Shri Narendra Modi, and now the budget backing it up in a brilliant way. There's a lot of opportunity for growth, both in terms of short-term financial benefit as well as long-term opportunities that the sector presents.
So, what is your expectation, you and your young guys across the country, is spending a lot of time, money, a lot of venture capitalists is spending a lot of money on startup. So, how's been the expectation from our government? And if you can point out few things which you believe the government can do, which will make things much easier for startup businesses.
Alright, I think Anil already pointed out a few interesting aspects when he mentioned Aadhaar. Giving a little light on what this budget provided, there were three major chunks in which I can divide the entire thing. The first thing is the immediate financial relief in terms of the tax structure, whereas the newly formed company gets the benefit of not paying the corporate tax or having the benefit of not paying the corporate tax for the first 3 years.
But as it is here, no one makes money in first 3 years. Everyone says, no one makes money in first 3 years. What is the point in giving this?
But there are certain companies, especially on the manufacturing side, where again they have reduced the taxation from 30% to 25%. Which
any 3 out of 5.
Any 3 out of the first 5 years.
Take the last 3
Okay.
High benefit. Again, there's one very interesting thing that happened is there's a promotion of entire intellectual property rights, wherein creating patents in India. During the launch of the startup campaign, they waived off the entire legal fees and reduced the patent cost by 80%. Now they have added another rule wherein any revenue that comes in from the sale of these royalties out of these patents, only 10% of it will be charged as corporate tax, which again there is a substantial saving there. I'll quote one of the young companies which is into manufacturing Ather Energy. They recently launched a bike which was an all-electric bike. They raised a substantial amount of funding of almost 80 crores from Tiger Global and launched the vehicle. They are the companies like them will get substantial benefit out of it because of the way the government is doing it.
So Anil, coming back to you, everyone says investing in startup is very easy. A lot of inflows are coming from domestic, international, and everybody is chasing people like Manish. But the key question is, are the valuations reasonable enough to invest? And whether you will find exit anytime in the time to come? What's your view on this?
Suppose it's looking at this, I think I'm the only guy who is mature enough to lose all his hair. And this all happened because I was struggling answering this question for the last 10 years, whether the valuation of a startup is something science or art. But coming to your specific question, I think today India actually is a flavor in world, considered the fastest growing startup nation. It's categorized among top 3. To me, it looks like it may be taking a position second or maybe one. US still is a flavor. Coming back to your question, it's very relative, right? It's a question of demand and supply, right? We all spoke about breaks, we shared a lot of statistics. And India is the only country, apart from offering so much disruptive, innovative, technology, it also has its own consumption story. Money is also need to be unlocked, both statistics like only 15% of money has gone in the flow system from domestic investment. Just imagining if it increases by 10%, what kind of disruption it brings, to the entire economy. The GDP, what we are talking about, 7.6, probably to the 9%. Marginally it will enhance. So valuation is an issue, Manoj. I'll share 2 examples from one perspective. What I have done in the past doesn't matter. We've invested personal money, but so far we have invested in 4 companies, and we issued term sheet to 3 companies. One company is already in talks with people asking letter to get them acquired. Right? So valuation is not an issue. I think everybody wants to see how they make their position strong and how they serve their customers better. Another company, I was here in Kolkata on 9th of February, and at the same time, along with my partner, I was trying to close one deal where we actually issued a term sheet to him from here only. And this company, before we could even wire the money, is acquired.
So you see a lot of opportunities from the larger companies or the strategic companies to look at the startup businesses.
So yesterday, in fact, I had a very interesting conversation from a gentleman from US who has been invited on expenses from Indian government. So that based out of Boston. And he has been very active angel investor associated with 3 groups in US. And he asked me one very simple thing. Anil, I've been talking a lot about Indian story, but do you guys, have a kind of acquisition story in India? Or do you guys, like if you invest, how do you take exit? Exit is primary, right? I can write as many as check I want, but if I don't take out money back, then it's not worth, right? So I gave him several examples, and he was amazed to see the kind of research. And like I have never heard about like VC have invested, and 2 months time I'm talking about exit to acquisition by someone. Right? People are willing to pay not only my capital but even return on that. Second company, even before I could write check, his company is getting acquired, and that's an Indian company, not based out of Bangalore, not based out of Delhi, not based out of Mumbai, but it's based out of one of the southern country where we will not go even to look at startup. So space is restricting, not only exit, but even I think numbers are looking quite interesting. I think still there is some issue on valuation, but considering global, the same company, if I have to invest in US, probably I'll pay twice than what I pay in India. So I don't think valuation is an issue.
So Nilesh, now the valuation economics have come, startup is, everyone's in expensive position. So what's your call on the equity markets today? Markets have gone up today, but what's your take next 12 months down the line?
So I've never met a promoter who sells his company cheap. But I've seen in secondary market many investors who have sold their shares cheap. So compared to primary investment, secondary market does provide this mismatch where fund managers, investors, because of their compulsions, do end up selling equity much cheaper. If we see the equity market today from a pure valuation point of view, we are at about 14.5 times forward earning. Not a screaming buy like it was in October 2008 during the Lehman crisis, but reasonably fairly valued, so one can be reasonably invested into equity, not overweight invested. If you look at market cap to GDP, we are at about 60%. Our bottom was about 54% in October 2008. So compared market cap to GDP, we are reasonably there. If you look at from a flow point of view, certainly there are issues. We don't know how long FIIs will sell, how much they will sell. But my presumption is that some point of time after 60% underperformance, FIIs should be buyer of emerging market equity rather than seller. You can buy coal of Russia at 60% market cap of Alphabet. You can buy coal of Brazil at 75% market cap of Alphabet. You create two alphabets, 2.5 alphabets, you can buy coal of India. In it shows that they are becoming cheap. So they should hopefully stop at some point of time, which means once there's selling stops, then our movement up can occur.
So last year we saw huge inflow in domestic money. Almost more than 70,000 crore came in. This year, 2 months, not so much encouraging. So what's your take on that? Retail investors, the viewer?
So clearly, in the last 2 years, we have sold more equity than what we have sold in previous 10 years. And in that 2 years, whoever has put money in, we have met his expectation. Our performance has been definitely below their expectation, even though it is above benchmark indices. We have to ensure that we engage with these investors so that they remain invested. If they really book loss and move on, I don't think so we'll see them for next 10 years. But if they remain invested, then over the next 6-8 months when the FII reduction starts kind of stabilizing, market starts moving back up, they will get their expected return and we will get more flows. The good part in domestic investment is that today we have opportunity to allocate to equity. Whether we will grab it, I don't know. So world over, pension fund invests in equity. They are the largest owner of equity in the world. In India, we allowed our Provident Fund Trust to invest in equity somewhere in 2004. Till 2014, we never approved it on the other side of the government. So Ministry of Finance had approved investment in equity by Provident Fund Trust way back in 2004. Ministry of Labour approved it in 2014 after new government came. They started investing in equity somewhere around June, July 2013. It's about 7-8 months and all of them are crying, "Arey, loss ho gaya, loss ho gaya, loss ho gaya." If these people show a little bit of maturity and buy when there is a sell in the market, good for country, good for EPFO investors, and a lot of money can come in. It's not even worth talking about the maturity of this people. I have a dream that when I retire, and I'm an EPFO subscriber, by then if our legal system allows us to file a class action suit, I will file a claim against the trustees of EPFO, saying that by remaining invested into guild and ISU bonds and corporate debt, you have underperformed what was your potential, and please compensate me for that. And I hope all of them are alive at that point of time.
But the overall economy is not into the best of the shapes, and the overall view which is we are getting into the markets.
Our economy is in best of the shape.
So I'm giving the market. You are the expert, so that is why we need your opinion here. So what's your thought going forward? The sectors which you believe are the sectors where investment is going to be good, and we should look at those sectors in the next 12 months.
So let's look at it from an economic point of view. In FY15, we have produced more coal than what was produced in previous 4 years. In FY16, we have ordered 10,000 kilometers construction of roads, which is about 2.5 times better than what we ordered in 2014. This year, we will be achieving 5,000 megawatt of solar power target. This is exceeding the estimate of 4,500 megawatt. We have distributed 6.6 crore LED bulbs, which is helping us save about 6 crore in energy every day. Look at various other parameters. The economy is doing well. It's just that the mindset is poor. In Bombay airport today morning, where did the security line begin? From the counter. The air traffic is up about 20% year on year. So if the economy is in not so good shape, how come so many people are flying in aeroplane?
If I may,
Yeah, please.
it kind of, so as a market participant, yes, we look at it 20% YOY growth in our passenger traffic. What we really at that time miss is that there is a redistribution of passenger traffic which is happening away from railways into air traffic. Now, in the last 2 years, the railway passenger traffic growth has been 3% YOY in FY15 and 1.4% YOY till January in FY16. And this is precisely the time when the airfare differential with the passenger fare, railway passenger fare, has actually narrowed down substantially. So when I make a growth heat map and this cell turns a bright green in YOY growth rates, there is another cell which is actually taking some sort of a hit, and that is a railway passenger.
It is still positive. And mind you, do you know how many people travel on railway without ticket?
The one that I long distance travel is kind of.
If you go to Mumbai railway station, you will recognize that the number of passengers who are traveling without ticket is far more than what these people can estimate. Now let me convert this into reverse way. You know, our goods train, at what speed they run? I sit on a board of a textile company in Ahmedabad. For them to ship fabric from Ahmedabad to Bangladesh is faster than to ship fabric from Ahmedabad to Ludhiana. Because our goods train run at a pace lower than what a Nigerian marathon runner runs. And we have one of the largest cotton production in the world, top 3. Our cotton quality is as good as Uzbekistan cotton or Egyptian cotton. We are one of the largest spinning capacity in the world. We are supplier of fabric to the best brands in the world, the Zaras, the Canalis, the Gap. What is our total export of ready-made garments? $18 billion. What is the exports of garment by China? Officially $270 billion, unofficially $350 billion. With all due respect to ladies in this room, China's garment of lingerie and underwear is more than our ready-made garment exports of shorts and pants. So, कच्चे बनियान अपने से ज़्यादा बेच रहे हैं. They don't have cotton as much as we have. They don't have spinning capacity as much as we have. They don't have fabric capacity as much as we have. But they know how to stitch. Where are we lacking? One, in China, if you visit textile factories, 50,000 workers will be working in a factory. They'll all be staying in dormitories. And these dormitories will look like a 3-tier compartment of a railway. And in that dormitory, one girl will be staying between 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and the second girl will be staying from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. So there also they utilize it more. In India, we don't allow our women to work in factories after 8 p.m., which means my sewing machines run one shift, whereas those guys run 3 shifts. If all this thing is not sufficient enough, we don't focus on efficiency. So when we are making socks in India, in a fabric, we make both the left and right side of sock. So left side will come like this, right side will come like this, in between goes in wastage. How does China do? I have visited a factory which had 50,000 workers working in making left side sock factory, because the fabric will have left side like this. There will be another factory which will make right side. They'll combine it and export it. I mean, we have to learn how to create efficiency. When Rohit mentioned that growth will come, it's about all the advantages which we have. That's why growth will come. But someone will have to work to encash that advantage. God has been kind to give you cotton. God has been kind to give you spinning capacity. God has been kind to give you fabric weaving capacity. We were making malmal which used to pass through ring. That was what Dhaka malmal called. So there is opportunity, but we need to encourage it. And hopefully the government is doing steps in that direction to make it into startup. Hopefully we will see our dividend is coming back if we work on it.
So what is your take on the specific sectors, if you can highlight few sectors in the times to come which will...
My guess is that it is all about backing a right entrepreneur. A good entrepreneur in good sector will obviously give you good money. But a bad entrepreneur even in good sector will not give you good money. And we have seen now some of the liquor king showing us the way. So please focus on entrepreneur as much as the sector. On the bottom up, if you can take a good entrepreneurs, I'm sure the country is giving you so much of opportunity that you will.
So what is your message to the, full house here from a, equity perspective? Equity is always, when the markets go down, people always look at markets with more caution than the markets when they go up. So what's your take, the investor perspective? They should start investing, they should look at it.
So since this is Kolkata crowd and they are all very non-materialistic in nature, money doesn't matter to them. I just want to ask a very simple question. Do you believe that India should be an independent country?
Yeah, if anyone can answer.
The answer is obviously yes. It's a good question to ask. Today, 34% of our listed market cap is in foreigners. 9% plus in foreign direct investment firms like Bank Holding, ITC, Lever Holding, Hindustan Lever, and so on and so forth. And about 25% is with FII. We allowed FIIs to invest in this country in 94. The FDI has been going on for some time. ITC is a 100-year-old company. Now they are at 34%. If tomorrow they reach 51%, then will India retain its economic independence? In last 5 years, we allowed multinational companies to pay liberal royalty to their parent. The royalty payments have grown at 20% per annum for last 5 years. And the profit growth of this multinational companies is 7% per annum. There's an automobile company which for every 100 rupee of profit made in India pays 40 rupee by way of royalty to its parent in Japan. 40 rupees of profit in Japan. And the most important thing is that all these multinational companies' profitability, for which they are paying brand value to their parent, is lower than their comparable Indian peers. So if you have a great brand like for which you need to pay so much royalty, shouldn't you be making more money in India? So the question is that do you want your children to live in economically independent India? If yes, please try to own some equity. If you believe that your children like our great grandfather should be slave, then please don't invest in equity.
So with this
Patriotic mix, just commercial consideration. After last 1 year's performance, this is the only pitch we can give.
What I was saying, if you believe the confidence on the Indian economy and Indian people and Indian ability to give a proper return, definitely on a medium and long term, there is a definite money to be made. I think apart from that, as you rightly said, the Indian entrepreneurship itself, the new entrepreneurs coming, the wealth creation, all that when it's integrated, there is an opportunity. So, but some changes happening, we have to be aware of that. What is happening, all that. So I think, as you rightly said, the right entrepreneur in the right company and right environment definitely will give return.
Yeah.
I have a slightly contrarian view. Let's look at a country like Singapore, which is not even big as probably twice of Calcutta. It doesn't have its own domestic investment. It doesn't have any kind of resources available. But it is probably 2 or 3 times of the Indian economy.
No, it is much smaller than India.
Very small.
It has, the financial sector is much larger vis-a-vis.
Despite that, the GDP and financial sector is much lower.
Let's take it's half of our country. Is that?
It's even lower.
Put any number which you
Per
wish.
capita is far better than India, so there's no debate about it.
So,
Singapore is better.
your point
Where
is,
I'm trying to drive the point is, if you say that because the foreign money coming in will make us economically dependent and it will make us weaker, then a country like Singapore, which is much more progressive and per capita is much, much higher, then what will you say in such a situation?
So let me talk about Singapore. It's created by Lee Kuan Yew. In 1970, Lee Kuan Yew visited Mumbai so that Singapore can be modeled like Mumbai. You know what was the first job of Lee Kuan Yew? He was a lawyer in a bank called Indian Overseas Bank.
Oh,
You know Indian Overseas Bank are the
Yeah,
great
we are the
branch
oldest
building.
back there. Ah.
That biggest
Yeah, that building is owned by the.
That building is a gift from Lee Kuan Yew to Indian Overseas Bank because he started his career as a lawyer consultant. He wasn't an employee, but he was a consultant lawyer working in IOB. So this is where Singapore was, and in 30, 40, 50 years they have changed. Long back, and this is way back in the early 90s when Singapore was probably not as prosperous as it was today. I did my summer training over there in JP Morgan, and we were invited to meet a minister in Singaporean government. And someone asked him, like, what makes Singapore so successful? And he simply said, character, character, and character. He says it's the character of Singaporean people which makes Singapore success. So when I say that, you know, by giving 51% ownership to foreigners, we will lose our economic independence, it is more from the context of this royalty payment. Today, HDFC Bank, HDFC, ICICI, they're all owned by foreigners. It doesn't make them less Indian company. But when you give up 51% of your ownership, you'll also have Union Carbide kind of company.
So actually, if you, I read one Swami Ankulesh Iyer. He was asked, means what should be the best regime of taxation for the foreign companies? In fact, I really like the view what he said. If a foreign company is setting up shop here in India for doing the export, and I am talking in the context of the cars which you talked about, it's utilizing the resources in India, it's giving the job to Indian people, it's taking away the job from foreign country because it's setting up shop in India. Why do we want to tax such people? Let them make money and take away all the money because they have given job to Indian people. They have utilized the resources here. They have expanded the economy of the country. So in that context, if somebody distributes 40%, let them distribute 100%. So far it's generated out of exports, what's wrong?
The company which I'm talking about sells in India. It doesn't export out of India.
I think what just to summarize what Nilesh wants. Nilesh is what we all believe India will grow in next 10 years, and as Indians we are less investing in equity and we believe more in the debt markets. So if we invest more in equity markets, your income will go up, your future generation will benefit a lot. So if you invest, you gain today.
I'm a biggest believer in equity market.
Right. So now we'll open the platform to question and answers. I would invite questions to any of the panelists here. Yeah.
So I'm Anurag. So when you say stay invested in the stock market, one of the jokes that keeps rounding up nowadays is SIV means suicide by investing patiently. So, and I have actually seen that irrespective of you continue SIPs, but they have not yielded good returns. So is it because of this high fund management fee, or is it because when it comes to a portfolio, there's a lot of junk in that portfolio also? So 30 to 40% of that entire AUM will be in companies which are not that good. So as a small investor, somehow SIP has not been that panacea which is...
So how long you have invested in SIP?
So 5-6 years or something.
5 years equity mutual funds, and that has given what return?
Means I'm talking, so I have invested, but they're not given phenomenal returns.
So what, just to get a...
Maximum 10-12% is what I have got from major fund, but I have not been that disciplined also as compared to maybe what you would hypothetically say that if someone has invested from 1995 to 2015.
Now let the expert answer.
Sir.
Do you like mango?
Mango.
अच्छा लगता है. Do you know how much time it takes for mango tree to bear mango fruit? भगवान को जाके कंप्लेन करो ना. क्या भगवान मैंगो 12 साल के बाद देते हो, फटाफट डिलीवर करो. अगर मैंगो आपको 5 साल में चाहिए तो खट्टा मैंगो ही आएगा. this Manish Sugandhi is a startup guy, right? Because if I give you money today, will you double it tomorrow because you are a startup? He's an entrepreneur, asking how much time he will take to build his business.
Today, then I can possibly think about it.
Are those two factors which I pointed out? One is this high fund management fee, and the other is that some junk in that portfolio. Are these two factors which do contribute to negativity?
So how do you define junk?
So, for example, Amtech Auto was one part in that Franklin portfolio which led to a lot of
So,
redemption.
3 mistakes. Franklin has never ever invested
Not
in
Franklin.
equity. It was JP Morgan.
JP.
Number 2, Amtech was invested in debt, not in equity. Of all the 44 mutual funds in the country, except HDFC Mutual Fund, not even single mutual fund has invested in Amtech Auto's equity. HDFC Mutual Fund, which had 10% stake in these two companies in 2008, since then has been selling that stock for all the 7 years after 2008. And Prashant Jain is on the record saying that the capital allocation of Amtech Auto is so bad that he would not like to invest in that company. Now, we didn't sell out everything in 2008 because obviously it was a large holding, but for the next 7 years he has been selling that stock. So again, misinformation. JP Morgan invested in debt of Amtech Auto, not equity of Amtech Auto. Today, when you compare banking systems, NPA, 15% of their loans are NPAs. When you compare mutual funds NPAs, 200 crore out of 12 lakh crore AUM is NPA. Calculate the percentage. We are part of this country. We are not living in Venus or Mars. If this country has NPAs, we will also have NPAs. If this country grows, we will also grow.
Right, nice. Next.
And 12% return is too good a return.
That's what asking you about.
I'm not saying I'm just 30. I want to that 20 years horizon, but should I continue to invest based on advertisement is the thing?
See, you are lucky to be born in this era. The generation before you and the generation after you is not going to get this time. In 91, what was our GDP? 300 billion. 270 business. Today it is $3.1 trillion. By the time you will be at your time, it will be probably $6 trillion. Do you think your great-grandfather or your great-grandson will see that kind of growth? Impossible. So you are lucky to be born here, grab the opportunity.
This is the best time to invest in equity, from a 10-year perspective. So don't look at short term. We have to all think long term. Yeah, please.
Good evening, sir. This is Prabir. I would like to have 2 questions. Number 1, in India, manufacturing is having 17% weightage in GDP. In China, it is 30%. Make in India program has been started already. Niti Aayog wants to take up this manufacturing share up to 25% of the GDP. Yesterday we had the budget. After 2 years of stagnation, this time the capital expenditure has been increased, but not significantly. So what I would like to know, with this type of capital expenditure, manufacturing percentage 25% of the GDP, will it be possible in the near term? And the second thing I would like to ask, EPF interest taxation, how far it is valid in India as there is no social security like Western countries?
So let me answer the GDP part. Asta, you can correct me, but we are already about 25% in manufacturing GDP. The broad thumb rule is 17% agriculture, about 55% services, the rest is all manufacturing.
Your disconnect is between industry and manufacturing. So industry is 25%, which is manufacturing, mining, electricity, and what you talk about is just manufacturing.
Now, how do we make in India successful? So if you read the history, not written by Englishmen but by Indians, the First World War was won by British because the shipbuilders of India, led by Wadias of Bombay and Jamshedji Jiji boys, whose name JJ Hospital is built, probably Godrej also. They all built ships which British Army could use to transport goods, services and soldiers from India to UK, India to Europe, India to Africa. Obviously history is written by victors, so Englishmen forgot to record our contribution in winning World War I. The point I'm trying to make is that at that point of time we had ability to make warships. There was a gentleman called Seth Walchand Hirachi. Very few people will remember him. He was the person who set up a company called Hindustan Aeronautics Limited in Bangalore. It was servicing warplanes of Americans and English during the Second World War. Seth Walchand Hirachi also set up another company called Visakhapatnam Shipyard. That company was servicing warships of American Navy and English Navy before independence. When we got independent, towards the Second World War, we had 32 ammunition factories which were making arms and ammunition. Over a period of time, through active encouragement or passive discouragement, we ended up becoming world's largest importer of arms and equipment. We became assembler of aeroplanes, we became assembler of ships. We were happy to buy Tatra trucks rather than Tata trucks. We were happy to buy Bofors guns rather than Bharat Forge guns. We were happy to buy ships from foreign shipyard rather than make it in India. We were happy to buy Scorpion submarine rather than LNG submarine. Now the clock is changing. We are happy to buy Tata trucks. I don't know if any one of you had a chance to visit Making India show in BKC, not the Chopati wala, where the stage got burnt, but the BKC wala. A company like Bharat Forge is today talking about making jet engines. There are only two companies in the world which can think of making jet engines. It's a matter of pride that an Indian company is reaching to that level of efficiency. That's making India. So, we have a lot of ingredients to do making India. If we allow our women to work in factories after 8 p.m. to stitch garments, I have no doubt in my mind that one day my ready-made garment exports will be $270 billion, which is more than my total exports. If our politicians can negotiate better export quota with the US and European market, then certainly we can sell $270 billion worth of garments. We have cotton, we have spinning capacity, we have yarn capacity. All we need is a stitching capacity, for which I need people to work, staying in 3-tier compartments of a railway kind of dormitory, 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. And I need politicians who can get export quota from the European and American Union. So Make in India can happen if we work like this.
Any more questions? Yeah.
My question to Mr. Nilesh Shah.
Acha, Mike.
We always believe that lowest of the crude price will benefit India, and it benefits also. But nowadays, our equity experts say that no, it should go up to 40 or this, that. Please explain.
Sir, आपने कभी skydive की?
Yes.
So when you do a skydive, and I'm saying you would have done it with the person with you, not alone.
साथ में कोई होगा ना?
साथ में you need somebody. So when you jump, you fall like crazy. Gravity pulls you, and then he wants you that I'm pulling parachute. When the parachute is pulled, you actually get pulled back, and then your flow, kind of your descent starts getting controlled. You fall much lower pace, and then you hit the level. So somewhere Indian economy today is with a parachute, but parachute which is pulling up and hence it's going down. So when oil prices starts moving from let's say 40 to 80, it is good for India because 40 to 80 movement represents global growth. Our exports will pick up, capital flows into our markets will pick up, our economy will growing at a faster pace. We will be able to afford this 40 to 80 movement. When it becomes 80 to 120, it is bad for India. because for us that cost of 120 becomes prohibitive. Similarly, when it falls from 120 to 80, it's good for us because global growth is slowing down, but it's not slowing down so much that our exports will suffer, capital flows will suffer. The benefits of that 120 to 60 outweighs post-pandemic. But when the oil falls from 60 to 40, we are again suffering from the growth disconnect. So depending upon which point of view oil prices are, one has to take a call. Our consensus today is that $70 billion saving which I talked about, it's a parachute on Indian economy which will control its descent. Other people will fall without parachute, we will fall with parachute. But that $70 billion saving accumulated over a period of time has been one used to repay foreign exchange loan which we have taken to repay oil import bill. This has been used to repay our fuel subsidy because all our finance ministers before Arun Jaitley were chartered accountants. So we always paid previous year's subsidy this year. This year's subsidy was there from his finance minister. Arun Jaitley paid previous year and current year's subsidy this year. So we have kind of cleared our opening balance. But as oil prices kept on coming down, we have suffered inventory losses. What we bought at 100 was valued at 80. What we bought at 80 was valued at 40. So inventory losses of oil, covering up of past fuel subsidy, paying back fuel import bill of the past and reducing sector as credit, all these things are taken under the impact of parachute. But we are saving $70 billion a year. That benefit will be visible in economic some and time. What we need is a little catalyst. If global growth starts coming back up, our export starts moving up, and that will then be extracted.
Nilesh, many people ask this question. The oil has dropped, at a historical low, but prices at the retail level are extremely high. So, what's the take on that?
Have you seen an Indian person taking his dog out on a walk with a plastic bag in his hand? Have you seen an American person taking his dog out on a walk without a plastic bag? So we have expectation that when I take my dog out on a walk and it goes, Prime Minister should come and pick it up and clean this up. So वो mentality जब तक change नहीं होगी तब तक इस चीज का क्या answer? We need money to spend on infrastructure. We need money to spend on social. पैसा कहाँ से waste होगा?
My question is to Nilesh Bhai. Is it true that we have got some apprehension that the economy is growing at 7.5%? Because 3 or 4 years back when the economy was growing at 8.5 or 9%, there was robust atmosphere, sentiment everywhere in the market. Now all the industries, be it real estate or the manufacturing or agriculture or export, everything has gone down. So whether there is some jugglery done in last 3 years in the figures of GDP, or it is a real growth which we are witnessing now.
So let me take you to 1991. If you had gone in that period to Mahatma or to Sarabhai or to Srinivasan or to Shriram's or let's say Martin Van Appeal or Jupiters or Calcutta, they all would have unanimously told you कि ये सरदार तो पागल हो गए हैं, अपना बेड़ा गर्क करके ही दे रहे हैं, इस तरह कोई कंट्री चलाता है, पता नहीं कहाँ से आ गए सरदार, and all of them were right, उनका बेड़ा पक्का गर्क हो गया, Mafatla's were top third or fourth crews in the country, they don't matter. But on the other hand, in that era of Manmohan Singh, Narasimha Rao government changing economy, you would have gone to Sunil Bharti, you would have gone to Sri Huncha, you would have gone to Ratan Bachchan, you would have gone to Rohit Naga, and you could have always gone to Narayan Murthy, S.M. Premji, Seth Nagar, and so on and so on.
Sri Cement Calcutta.
Sri Cement Calcutta, obviously. And all those guys would have said, "Arey yaar, ये तो lifetime opportunity है, ये सरदार जी ने मेंशन कर दिया है, बस अभी तो कोई टेंशन ही नहीं है लाइफ में. So it is again in the same kind of environment. There is some segment of economy which is losing out quite badly. There is some segment of economy which is growing quite rapidly. It all depends upon whom we talk to. If you talk to this segment of economy which is losing out, one which got coal mine by managing the system, and he enjoyed taking that coal out of mine, but he just wanted to keep it over there. When that guy is crying because Supreme Court has taken the coal mine back, and the system which he managed is not giving any refund of his money. But if you go to a startup guy, are you happy? I'm sure he's thinking that it's a lifetime opportunity. So this 7.5% GDP growth, if we listen to the chief statistician of India, then he has given a decent explanation. While there are people who have raised doubts, all I am saying is that we all know how much parallel economy we have. The economy is going through the transition because the fast money is getting reduced. Their flow is getting reduced. Give little time for transition. The 7.5% looks good. It doesn't look unclear.
So what is the transition period?
I mean, frankly speaking, I have gone wrong because we thought it would have come 12 months back. But my guess is that it's up to Dr. Saab. The moment he allows me to eat pav bhaji and pizza, I think 7.5 अच्छे दिन will come.
What is the reason of the FIS earnings so aggressively? Because if the economy is people right in growth, they could also see
See, they are not selling India. See, if I am a fund manager, I have a great view on, let's say, ITC. If I have a assumption, I have to sell ITC to some extent. So we are getting sold not because we are India. We are getting sold because emerging market as an asset class is underperformed. Developed market, when we are down 40%, when we are up 20%. The media headlines around emerging market is all negative, negative, negative. Plus Zika virus, Olympic whether it will be held, not held, China slowing down, corruption coming out in China. China's SEC chairman has been fired out. China's number 2 person in SEC has been put into jail. China's largest brokerage company, the entire management is in jail. Russia, God knows what's happening over there. They are trying to ignite fourth World War in Syria. So all the news about emerging market is so negative. एक तो 60% loss किया, ऊपर से इतना सारा negative news. People are losing patience and they are taking redemptions on fund. The fund manager, even if he likes India, has an option to sell. So we are being voted out because of other stuff. It's not necessarily India.
Any view, Nilesh, when this would stop?
It should have stopped long back because you can't buy all of Russia with 17% of world's net mass and 25% of world's natural gas reserve at just $350 billion. There's something wrong. You can't buy all of Brazil at $450 billion. They provide 45% of world's oxygen by that Amazon. If they start charging tax on that, all of us will become bankrupt. Can you not afford to pay price of oxygen? So somewhere the emerging markets have become too cheap, developed markets have become too expensive, or maybe they are fair and we are cheap. So this equation has to change. It's just a question of time.
Yes, sir.
Nilesh, let's talk to you. I think you are all-rounder. Whatever, I think you are doing batting also, bowling also, fielding, everything you are doing actually. So it's really great actually. So we have brand ambassador for everything in India actually, for Incredible India, this thing and that thing. Why we can't have the brand ambassador for financial market actually, like you? You see, when there's a lot of positivity there in our equity markets and everything. And I have one small question. There is a lot of misinformation among the investors across, not only retail investor, HNI, even the institutional investors also. So I would like to understand from you, what should be the roadmap for the India to remove this misconception or misinformation from the people, from the institutions also. And there should be, I think, roadmap or some target for maybe 2 years, 3 years, so that whatever positivity we have, we should take the advantage, only not the FI and the other investors.
So we have brand ambassadors, but we don't recognize that. There was an unfortunate incident about an Australian cricketer who got hit by an offside flag. You know the name of that person?
That's the point he wanted.
You know the boy who would have been future Sachin Tendulkar and who died in Kolkata in a similar tragic incident? His name was Ankit Keshi. He was the under-19 captain of India. He died playing a match here. And he didn't die on the pitch. He was taken from one hospital to another hospital to third hospital, but he didn't get the proper treatment and that's why he died. Our newspaper, our commentators, our cricketers carried out Philip Hughes's thing as if he was my brother. But no one remembers Ankit Keshi. We don't recognize our potential. In my community, when I talk about my community, I consider Birla, HDFC, ICICI, Capital, Reliance, IDFC. All of us have put together, outperformed Warren Buffett by a margin that if Warren Buffett was Indian fund manager, he would lose his job. The most equity fund manager of India has delivered better return than Warren Buffett in the last 10 years, last 15 years. All our people have outperformed God himself. And yet people say we are not brand ambassadors. One day, like today, we revert Warren Buffett because of the great work he did 25 years back, not because of the work which he has done in the last 10 years. In fact, last 10 years, Warren Buffett has underperformed benchmarking as S&P 500. My hope is that the next generation will remember Prashant Jain, Bala, Naren, Harsha Upadhyay from my company as the people who will living God of that year.
Good, good. Please have a round of applause for the panel. Thank you all of you.
Thanks, it's fantastic. It was a very brilliant session. Thanks, Nilesh, specifically. He gave a much global outlook, which we actually don't see most of the time. To conclude, what we take out from the things that growth is imminent, that is going to come. It may come tomorrow, it may come day after tomorrow. It's a matter of time that it will come. And following that, the equity markets, debt markets, in fact the across capital markets as well as other asset class which is emerging like startup companies and everything will find its pace, to make our wealth multiply multifold. And it has done. What we actually forget that our memory is very short in general. Today when the markets are down, we all keep on crying. Since yesterday, till yesterday, today when the markets were up more than 700 points, I don't see many of people actually crying it. Had it been yesterday, 200 pounds down Nifty, people would have asked everybody why markets down and blah blah blah. So our memory is very low. I am sure next year when we will meet here again, we'll forget what has happened in 2015 and we'll only talk about 16. So that's the way it goes. And probably looking up to a better future going ahead and hopefully a very good investment year in 2016, which I as an equity guy look very promising, looks very promising. So concluding that, I think everybody should participate some way or the other in wealth making in various asset class. Thank you. I'll like Mr. Arun Ladda and Manoj Ladda just to facilitate our speakers and give a vote of thanks to them.